Welcome to Gratefully Gifted, a podcast for gifted kids made by gifted kids because we do think it's great to be gifted. On today's episode, we will interview Terry Bradshaw, who is a pro football player who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's not waste any more time as we talk about football and leadership on today's episode. One joke I have for you is, why don't football players wear glasses? Because it is a contact sport. Also, why did the quarterback suddenly walk off the field? Because the coach told him to take a hike. Did you know the highest scoring game was played by the Washington Redskins versus the New York Giants, and the Redskins scored 72 points?
Wow.
Today we will hear about the struggles of a football player. They have to go through pain to make it in the big leagues. How early do you think they need to get up for practice, or how much pain do they feel when they get hit? These are a few questions you will find the answers to as we dive in today's podcast. So let's not waste any more time and jump right into it.
Now it's time for Talking Time. We have with us today Terry Bradshaw, who was a professional football player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, was named MVP in 2 Super Bowls and won 4 Super Bowls within 6 years. That is like Mahomes today. That is a compliment to Patrick Mahomes. He has been in movies, including Our Teacher's Favorite Failure to Launch, but she says we have to be 13 to watch it. You can see him in 2 places, one as a broadcaster on Fox Sunday Football and at the Terry Bradshaw Show in Branson, Missouri. Welcome to the Gratefully Gifted podcast, Mr. Bradshaw.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here, Logan. Looking forward to this.
All right, so let's start with a question.
Okay.
When you played for the Steelers, how early did you wake up to go to practice?
I got up. I was at the stadium at 7 a.m. I lived 30 minutes away, and then eventually ended up moving downtown. And so I would leave. There's still about 6:30. I'd beat the traffic, cross the bridge, and I'd be at the stadium. And I'd be inside the office complex by 7 a.m.
That's pretty early.
Well, what time do you get up?
Like 7:30?
There you go. I mean, early bird gets the worm, right?
Mm-hmm. What was it like winning your first Super Bowl?
The first Super Bowl was unbelievable, totally unexpected, and shocked that we won it. We weren't supposed to win that Super Bowl. We weren't even supposed to be there. We were a young football team that no one really paid a lot of attention to because of our youth. But we started beating everybody, and we went out and beat the Raiders in Oakland to go to the first Super Bowl. We beat the Minnesota Vikings badly in Super Bowl. It wasn't a bad score, but they couldn't do anything. Our defense was so great. So winning the first one, looking back on my career, it was easily my favorite because our owner, Arthur Rooney, had never had any championships of any kind, and he'd owned the team since the 40s. And so to be able to see him get the Lombardi trophy was special.
Wow, that's really cool. When you played in the NFL, who do you think was the hardest team to beat?
It kind of went, I wouldn't say decades, I only played 12 years. So it went in kind of the first few years from 70 to 76. It would have been the Raiders. Then the Houston Oilers from 76 on. Houston Oilers and the Cincinnati Bengals both got to be really good. So that would have been, and then the Cleveland Browns, but we could always beat Cleveland. But they got really good. So it was in that, but it was always the Raiders. Raiders were always difficult to beat because they wanted to beat us. They were very much like us. And defensively especially, very tough, hard to throw on, hard to run on, well coached, great players. But in the era of the Super Bowls, it was the Dallas Cowboys because they were everybody's dream team and everybody loved them. Staubach was so good, their quarterback, and they were so hard. Tom Landry's defense was so hard to figure out. But we always beat them, and very fortunate that we did. So in Super Bowls, it would have been it would have easily been the Cowboys. Early 70s, the Raiders, and then the Cincinnati Bengals, Houston Oilers.
Yeah, good thing the Raiders aren't as good today because they caused some problems.
They caused a lot of problems, and they're not very good. They haven't been good for a long time now. They moved to Vegas. They need to solve their quarterback situation. As you know, if you don't have a great quarterback, you're not going to have a great coach because they're pretty much tied. If you name every great coach that's ever coached in the NFL, you'll be able to name the quarterback that he had because that's how they won. Great coach had a great quarterback.
Who would you say was the hardest team to beat this year? It's okay not to say the Chiefs because I'm actually a Titans fan, which is pretty unpopular, but I don't care.
Good for you. You got to stand up for who you believe in. But by the way, they're not any good. I just want you to know that. But the Chiefs are hard to beat. And they've been winning close games, low-scoring games. Nothing like what you were used to seeing them, like 3 years ago where they were 30 points a game. They're still scoring not nearly as good, but it's their defense more than their offense now, which is a sign of a team declining. When one aspect of that team starts going the other way, then that's kind of an indication of bad things to come. So the Chiefs' closest rivalry this year is going to be Buffalo, who've already beat them. Baltimore's lost 5 games. In the AFC, Pittsburgh is going to be hard to beat since they put Russell Wilson at quarterback. Chargers are going to be hard to beat, and they have beat them. And Denver's coming on like great. Denver I picked would be the first team to beat them, but it was Buffalo that came back and won that game. So it's kind of the same bunch of people, but I would say more people now than ever are saying that Buffalo will be in the Super Bowl. We'll see. Chiefs find a way to win, though. I've already said I don't think they'll win 3 in a row. And they're the only team that can do that, obviously, for obvious reasons. But never count out Mahomes and Andy Reid. And their defense is awesome.
Who tackled or hit you the hardest in your career?
Golly. Every time I got hit, I'd hurt. You play football?
No.
No. How old are you?
11.
11. So you're not a football guy. You a baseball guy?
No, basketball.
Basketball. Okay, so that's your sport, basketball. Good for you. Hit me the hardest. I'll give you an example. At the end of my career, we were playing a preseason game against the New York Giants, and I kept getting hit in the ribs by this guy from the left-hand side. And I asked my left tackle, hey, who is that guy that keeps hitting me, number 56? What's that guy? Can you not block that guy? Is there a problem when you do so? He said, it's a rookie named Lawrence Taylor. He just kept pounding me all night long. It's just unbelievable. And it hurt, but the worst injury I ever had was the most painful. Was when Joe Jones, the defensive end for the Cleveland Browns, picked me up and buried me on top of my head. And I ended up with a fracture. What is that? Transverse process. Spinous process.
Spinous process in your cervical spine.
Yeah, got all that. Anyway, got a bad neck, got a neck injury. And I was paralyzed for about 24, 30 hours. And slowly it started letting up. They were poking needles in my toes all night and all day. And then finally I went, ouch. So that was the most painful injury I ever had, the most dangerous injury. There was a guy named Curly Cup. You had no idea who this guy was, but he was a defensive tackle for the Houston Oilers, and we could not block that guy, Jordan. And he used to break through and just slam me on the ground. And so he was constantly hitting me. So he was the hardest guy to block. He hit the hardest. The worst injury was the Joe Jones injury with my neck. And then the peppering of my ribs was by Lawrence Taylor, which, by the way, I never played against in a real game. But in a preseason game, yeah, he kept hitting me.
Before I came in here, I thought you were going to say Lawrence Taylor. So.
Did you really? There you go.
Being a quarterback of a team means you're a leader. What are the most important characteristics of a leader on or off the field?
Well, my leadership skills may be a little bit different than some, or maybe they're not. I didn't believe in calling people out. I didn't believe in pointing people's mistakes because I thought that they would respond better to kindness than they would to screaming. So I never was a screamer. I never chewed a player out. I only hollered at a player one time, and that's because they called timeout thinking I didn't see the play clock, which I did. And that was a Monday night game against Dallas, and the only time I got onto Mike Webster or anybody. I never said a word. I pretty much since I called my own plays, I didn't have time to be screaming and hollering at people. So my leadership skills was more out of love and kindness than it was out of, screaming and hollering. I just feel you get more out of people if you're kind to them and nice to them. And besides that, they're going to see the tape on Monday morning, and their coach is going to point out their mistakes, like they did mine. So I didn't worry about it. So my leadership skills were pretty much kind. Off the field, I was just I'm a good listener. I was kind to all the players. I'm kind of a people guy. I'm a people pleaser. It's more important for you to like me, even if I don't really like you. It's important that you like me, and I'm going to make sure that happens. So that was kind of the way I have done everything in my life, all my businesses and everything. I'm just a pretty good guy. And then when you consistently make bad decisions, and I have warned you, then don't be surprised when I come in and let you go.
I'm sure that my classmates and the people at my school are going to learn from this, and hopefully they become better people.
You know what? That's what we all need, isn't it? The world's kind of turned into a rough place to live. A little love and kindness goes a long way. You ever see these old dogs that are scared of you? My wife is really good. There's a dog that obviously had been beaten and tortured by its owner, was sitting out in the middle of our field about 300 yards, lost and hungry, scared. And within 5 days, my wife, with a bowl of food and water, coaxed that dog all the way up to the barn. And it became a barn dog, became one of the family. And then it was a cow dog, something that really wanted to work cattle. And one of our friends came by and said, "Oh my God, what a gorgeous dog." Is that your dog? I said, "Yeah, that's our dog." We told him the story, and he said, "Golly, I've got a beautiful place with a lot of cattle, and my kids would love that dog, and we could work. You think we could have that dog?" And we said, "Only if you give it a good home. That's the only way you can have it." Still got it. So it's good. So yeah. Being nice is the way to go, I think. Instead of being mean and hateful and vindictive, being kind to get you a long way in life.
I read that you were the only NFL player to have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. How did you get that star?
I don't know. They called me and said, "We've voted you in, and you're getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame." I have no idea how I got it. I guess it was from all my years of doing television and movies and singing, and they took notice of it and decided we need an athlete, and that's how, I got a call one day and they said, "Hey, you've been voted in on the Hollywood Walk of Fame." I'm right next to Paul Newman, by the way. If you ever get out there and you want to walk the streets, Paul Newman, you can stand on Terry Bradshaw and look at Paul Newman. Don't do that, okay?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Now you have a show in Branson, Missouri, where you sing and tell stories and jokes. What made you decide to get into the live show business?
I always wanted to be in the live show business. I always wanted to be on stage. I love entertaining, always have. Love to sing. And I got this opportunity with Clay Cooper, asked me would I come and do some shows. And I'd always wanted to be here. And so we did 3 shows to see how they would go. And that's been 4 years ago. And now This year we did 11. We're already booked for 12 next year. Want to do more, but sometimes the schedules haven't worked out for the dates that he's offered me. But we'll do 12 shows next year. Love it here. Love Branson, and I love this theater I'm at, Clay Cooper Theater.
We enjoy having you in Branson, Mr. Bradshaw, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to take us today on our Gratefully Gifted podcast. I hope this inspires others to not just play sports, but to be the GOAT at it. Also, you don't have to stick to just one thing as a career. Mr. Bradshaw shows you can be very talented at many different careers. This is very encouraging to a gifted kid like me.
Logan, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our last segment is I'm Bored, Now What? I want to share with you some fun facts on football. We talked with Terry Bradshaw earlier. Did you know Terry Bradshaw has been in 9 movies and on many TV shows? You can now see him perform at his live show in Branson, Missouri. We also see him on Fox TV as a sports commentator. Did you know that he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And in the 4 Super Bowls alone, he was in, passed for 932 yards and 9 touchdowns, which were both records when he retired. Won the MVP, Most Valuable Player, threw for 3,000 yards, completed 207 passes, and 28 touchdowns in one season. Speaking of Super Bowls, do you know how the Super Bowl first got its name? In 1960, when a guy named Lamar Hunt saw his kids playing with the ball that was known as the Super Ball because it was supposed to have 1,000 bounces and was considered the greatest ball ever created. Mr. Hunt was the owner of the Chiefs. He took the idea to all the owners, and they had to vote on the name, and they all loved it. Why does the Super Bowl always use Roman numerals? For instance, this Super Bowl, LIX, instead of Super Bowl 59? Well, according to NBCSports.com, again, they say most sources agree Lamar Hunt suggested they use Roman numerals because people would get confused. For instance, the 2024 season goes into 2025, and the Super Bowl is actually played in 25. But it's for the conclusion of the 24-25 season. So to keep it all separate, they decided just to start counting Super Bowls with Roman numerals. This year, for instance, the L means 50, and the IX means 1 before 10, which is 9. So this is Super Bowl 59. Want to go to the first Super Bowl? In 1967, the price for a ticket to go to the first Super Bowl, according to CBS News, was $12, which is about $109 in today's money. Want to go to New Orleans for the Super Bowl? The average cost for a ticket on StubHub is $8,076. Football is a great sport that has a lot of legends who show leadership on and off the field.
Well, that is all for today. We hope you enjoyed this episode and learned some things you didn't already know about Mr. Bradshaw and football. I know I did. If you enjoyed it, please share it with others and like and subscribe where you listen to this podcast. We appreciate your support, and if you would like to reach out to us with other topic ideas, just email us at gratefully-gifted, that is with no spaces, at branson.k12.mo.us. We all feel grateful to be gifted, and we hope you do as well, because being gifted is great. Oh, and go Chiefs!